It's Eliana Gilad, the founder of Voices of Eden and creator of the Thrive Through Uncertainty, Emerge Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty book and courses. And I'm on my maiden Thrive Through Uncertainty voyage right this second. I don't even know where to look. Oh, maybe I'm upside down. It's my first live video on Facebook from my first day in Tavira, Portugal. I'm on, let's see, can you see this? I'm sitting on the veranda, sipping my coffee, and I arrived here at 1:30 a.m. in the morning. Do you have a desire to travel? But you go, how could I do that? It's so scary. What if I don't know anyone? Well, I don't know anyone here. I don't know where I'm going to go. I was just dropped off here. I I was dropped off by my friend Vanessa at the Newquay Airport in Cornwall, which I'd never been to before in my life, and got on a plane and arrived to Tavira, which is in the Algarve in Portugal. And I, I think the first thing that I want to share with you that really helps me emerge triumphant and thrive through uncertainty, it's um, attitude. And that's what I first want to address today in this first installment. Okay? How attitude really determines the results of things. And what I notice when I tell people that I'm traveling or that I'm going to places I don't know, they go, well, isn't it scary? How I would love to do that. Would you love to travel? Or have you ever thought of relocating overseas? Have you thought, if you're a woman who's 50 plus, have you thought of moving from, the US, Canada, Australia, Western Europe, the UK, France, Germany, to somewhere else, because this is happening in droves these days, but you don't even know how to begin, or you don't know how you would ever get along. Maybe maybe you're on the other end of your parents having passed, or your care gave. Maybe your kids have left home and your long-term relationship is stale and you're wondering whether to stay or go, and you really would like time for yourself. I want to support you and say, go for it, go do it, because attitude is number one. And if your attitude towards yourself is that I can't, and your heart is yearning for something and you're not allowing yourself to do it, well, then you're going to recreate more of the same. And the other thing that I'm hearing a lot is, yeah, but today, is it safe, in post COVID? Okay, so uh, I wore a mask yesterday on the plane. Not a lot of people did, because so it kind of feels like, at least in the UK, it's like things are kind of back to normal, and there are some people who are wearing masks. And that also, my approach is, my attitude is, first, I'm responsible for my own well-being. So, and with that, I would invite you to ask yourself, is it your fear of what will happen? Which, when I do that, I know that I'm living in the future and futurizing. And that, hold in mind, what we hold in mind happens. I just saw this bracelet. See this bracelet? I'm using it a lot. It's the Your Voice Makes a Difference bracelet. So I'm putting it into action a lot whenever I have fear, like yesterday on the plane. So I got on the plane, and I put my bag underneath, underneath the seat, and I had some grocery stuff to eat. And then I went to I had to go to the bathroom really, really badly. So I left it there and I went to the bathroom, and people were just embarking. They were getting on the plane. And when I came back, my bag wasn't there. Well, that was triggering. I asked, and people were sitting in my seat. I said, "What happened to my bag?" And I assumed that they took it, and they said, "We didn't see it." I'm like, "What happened to my bag?" So I quickly go to the stewardess, the service people. I said, "Where's my bag?" And they go, "Oh, well, someone brought it up, so we'll bring it to you." Now, having lived in Israel for 20 plus years, where there are bomb scares, and terrorism, it was really triggering. It's like, how could they do that? They should be, they should. And boy, was I triggered. And three times I said, I want to speak to the person who took this. I want to speak to your boss, and no response. That I'm going to write to the CEO. And then I noticed how that was taking me down a rabbit hole into fear. And fortunately, I practice, I have my inner calm, serenity is number one priority, and I certainly was not serene at that point. And so the tools, if you have the book, Thrive Through Uncertainty, you'll know there are tools in there, and the tool that we actually have in the free workshop. If you want that, I'll put the link below, and you could go take it yourself. It's a 2-hour workshop. But I sat there, I go, "Okay, sweetheart, here's time to practice, what you preach." And what I noticed was that, excuse me, I don't know where I'm looking. I think, is that the camera? Yeah, I think that's the camera. Hi, is this? I noticed that, this thing of attitude. What was I going to choose for my attitude? And it went back and forth because there was a part of uh, what I call a spiritual bypass where it was kind of easier for me to just make light of it. But I felt violated. But working through it and practicing this, practicing these tools that we teach in the course, I got to a place where I asked the gentleman next to me, I said, "What would you do in this case? Would you?" And he said, "Well, I would certainly check my bag." He said, "But, I think they meant well." And that's what the stewards had said. And when he said that, it gave me more pause to choose, to watch my attitude and to choose how I chose to respond. And in that moment, as in anything, it's we don't have control over what happens, but we have absolute control over, over how we react, how we respond to the reaction. So I decided one moment at a time. And I did some writing and I did some reading, and then I felt so much better, and I enjoyed. They had two little kids with them, and the little girl, and she was screaming her head off. There was turbulence. She was terrified and screaming, and I noticed that's how I feel inside. That, the part that felt violated, it was a little girl who was terrified that she wasn't safe because I'm going to an unknown, because I'm saying yes to myself, because I'm allowing myself to take this time. I'm leaving mom, you know, um, with Alzheimer's, with the caregivers, and letting go of Who Needs God when Eliana's running the show, right? And really being true to myself and practicing these principles in all my affairs, taking that time for the self-care, taking that time to replenish, taking that time to live what my inner voice is guiding me to do, regardless of what anyone else has to say about it. So Isn't this beautiful? So uh, I arrived and I felt great. I felt better. And I thought, well, let me sleep on this and maybe I'll write to the CEO. Maybe I won't. And by the time I got out of the airport, there was a long line for customs and it was kind of like a snake line. And, by the time I found my driver and got to here, he was so lovely. And that was part of the response. Look, there's nothing to fear. He came, it was easy to meet him. I didn't know where I was, never been to this airport before, never been to this city before, been to this country, but never been to this city before. I don't speak Portuguese. I speak Spanish, I speak French, but I don't, não falo português muito bem. That's, I don't speak Portuguese very well. I can say that. I got this wonderful Portuguese lesson from the from the driver, and he was so sweet. He helped me. We get to this inn. I'm at Veranda's Inn, I think Veranda's Rooms, and they had one room for me, but now I have to change today. So I it's not a hotel, it's like a inn. I didn't know exactly what I was coming to. It looked good and it's summertime here, so it's like everything is booked. But I found this place and it looked great. And what do you do? I don't, I haven't been out yet. And here's the second thing about attitude, that I'm taking the time this morning to just adjust my attitude and be kind and enjoy sipping coffee and just being in this place. Took a shower. Now I'm waiting for this new room. And thing is, I didn't even know it's not a hotel. It's an inn. It's like a big old house, and they've divided up the house into rooms. So there's not a hotel entry thing, but it's not an Airbnb either. It's some different kind of. It's lovely and it's beautiful. It's old with the old tiles, a beautiful building. And I didn't know what I should do. Who do I contact? But in that not knowing, instead of worrying about, in that futurizing what will be, choosing trust. And I sent a text to Margarita, the person who wrote to me of how to get in. I didn't even know how to get in when the when the taxi driver dropped me off. They're like, look at these keys. It's like old-fashioned, hold on, can you see this? Old-fashioned keys. Those traditional keys. And there's a lockbox, and the English is like pidgin English, so it's not really understandable, and it's 1:30 in the morning, after I've been traveling half the day. The driver was so kind. He helped me uh, get the keys out of the box, and I came upstairs, and then someone just came out right before I pressed record on this video and said she does Svetlana. She's a Russian speaker who doesn't really speak English. And I can't have a full conversation in Portuguese yet. I understand she's cleaning the room right now. And so it's so perfect how things just flow. We're going to be in the present moment attitude. It's just amazing. Because when she said that, I thought, oh, this gives me the time to make this little video. That would be fun. I could foray into YouTube Live, which I've never done before. And the room will be ready, and I'll move into that room, and then I'm gonna go off and explore the villa and make my next video. What do you want to know about? What questions do you have? And please gong that bell, please. If you, I don't know where you put the bell. This is my first time doing this. But if you'd like to be apprised of more Thrive Through Uncertainty tour, what it's like to travel solo overseas, consider moving overseas. That's what I'm doing here. I'm rest and relaxation, but I'm also considering my next steps, where I want to go next, where I want to settle. So let me know what speaks to you most. What questions do you have? Where do you where do you have an attitude that could use some adjustment when it comes to considering going someplace else or making a change? What's the scariest thing for you that stops you from your emerging triumphant from this unknown period or from what's next? And then I'll address it in future videos. Bye. Let's see, now how do I stop this? This is like, here's another insert. Oh, there it is. Bye. No? I have my keys in my hand too. I'll sing while I'm looking for this. It's another. Bye now, look forward to hearing from you. Bye bye.